What's up, guys? Margie here with Complete Human Performance. I wanted to take a couple minutes today to talk a little bit about my own personal training and nutrition and how that's going. As some of you may not know, I am currently 9 weeks out from a figure competition, and then 4 weeks after that, I will go to Colorado to do the triple bypass, which is a 120-mile bike ride through the Rocky Mountains. Then in October, at the end of October, I'll be doing a half-distance Ironman, which is 70.3 miles total of swimming, biking, and running. So basically what I'm doing is combining high endurance or high volume endurance training with physique training, which is typically, not something that people think is possible, but at Complete Human Performance, with our hybrid approach, we believe you can do strength and endurance. So I decided I was going to take that challenge on my own, do two very intense things, high volume endurance, and then a bodybuilding show. So my training has been going really well. My whole life, I've always been able to go to the gym or play sports or do whatever and put my best forth, no matter what's going on. It's always been a stress reliever for me, so even like on bad days, I still feel like I get things done. Not every training session is a good session, but sometimes I do struggle mentally, but for the most part, I go in and I smash it, whether I'm in a good mood or a bad mood. So my training is awesome. The nutrition is what I'm struggling with. Food has always been something that I go to when I'm stressed. I've never really been a consistent binger or consistent overeater, but I do have those times where if something stressful is going on in my life, I'm gonna go to that pint of Ben & Jerry's peanut butter core ice cream and eat that whole thing in a sitting while I'm sitting on the couch watching Netflix. That's just what I do to make me feel better. So not being able to do that has been hard because the last couple weeks have been stressful in my personal life and my work life. So combining that with my training and nutrition has made it a little difficult. The last couple months, my approach for nutrition has been very, sorry guys, my approach with nutrition has been very relaxed. I have set macros that I've been following, and then I fill those macros however I want. So if I want to have a Pop-Tart for breakfast, I'll have a Pop-Tart that day. But at the same time, if I want to have chicken and rice and veggies for dinner and, have something more quote unquote nutritious, I'll do that as well. So that has worked really well for me because that's allowed me to satisfy those cravings, and that's allowed me to turn to food during those stressful times, but also not do it in an unhealthy way. Something that I always fear is that one day my desire to eat sweets until I get sick, throw up, and then continue eating sweets will be something that happens every day. So that's something that I personally have to work really hard to control, because if you put me in front of a huge amount of sweets, I will eat the whole thing. If you put me in front of a whole container of Publix cookies, they're going to be gone in 2 hours. It's just something that I've always been that way. I just love, my sweet tooth craving is huge. So that's something that I have to work very, very hard to control. And in this last week, everything that could go stressful and everything that could cause a speed bump in my life did. So in the last couple weeks, I got more strict with my nutrition. Being 9 weeks out, I can't be relaxed with my nutrition anymore. I can't have a Pop-Tart for breakfast if I want to. So that was really, really, really hard. It's a big shock when you're stressed and you want to eat some ice cream, but instead you have to eat chicken and rice and avocado. I find ways to make food make food flavorful, and so that I'm not like, oh, I'm just eating beef and potatoes every day. So I find ways to mix it up, doing various spices, flavorings, mixing the foods together differently, etc. So that's how I've been dealing with the strict nutrition. And then also reminding myself that it's just another 8 or 9 weeks. In the grand scheme of things, I'm going to look back on that and be like, it was 2 months. It was 2 months of not eating ice cream, 2 months of not eating cookies. So staying strong now will benefit me in the long run, because obviously if I stay strong now, and I say no to those cravings when it comes to me stepping on stage, I will look better than even if I had that one cookie. Because when you're training for something intense like a physique competition, that one cookie or that one bowl of ice cream or that extra bit of whatever is going to make a difference. Because if you let yourself have that little extra bit now, you're going to let yourself have that little extra bit later down the road too. So that's something that I have to work really hard to not make a habit of. So on top of that, on top of managing the diet, because I tell people all the time, nutrition and dieting is a 24-hour job. From the moment you wake up to the moment you go to bed, you are constantly faced with decisions of, do I eat that donut at work? Do I run through the Starbucks drive-thru? Do I do this, this, and this? And, if you're on a more relaxed diet, you don't always have to say no, but you also do have to weigh in, is this going to align with my goals? Is this going to help me? So that's something that I constantly have to ask myself and constantly have to remind myself that stay on track. This is not permanent. So with my training, with me being on a high deficit, it makes training hard in the performance aspect, because it doesn't matter how great of an athlete you are. If you're eating on a caloric deficit, your performance is going to suffer. That's just how it is. You cannot perform 100% on a caloric deficit. So that's something that I also have to keep in mind too. But I tote that fine line of performing at a caloric deficit and am I getting enough fuel in? So it's really, really important to get enough fuel in to perform the movements and the endurance that I'm doing, but at the same time, I don't need maximal fuel. I just need enough fuel to where I can do the work, I can do it injury-free, safely, and efficiently. So that's something that, at the end of a 3-hour cycling ride after doing hill repeats and then steady state, I'm gassed. All I can think about is going home and eating a pile of cookies and then going to sleep. But I have to remind myself, you can't do that. You have to push through this. I know you're hurting, not hurting painfully, but fatigued, etc. So that gets really hard sometimes on those longer endurance sessions. And then with lifting, it's just a matter of putting my ego into place and not caring about the weight that I'm pushing. And the reason why I say that is because when you're doing training for hypertrophy, so when you're training to improve your physique, how much weight you're using, in my opinion, doesn't matter. If my main goal is to make my quads bigger, how much weight I'm squatting does not matter. What matters is my movement efficiency. So am I doing an eccentric? Am I doing isometric holds? What's my rep scheme? How many sets am I doing? I want to make those reps as perfect as I can. So if I'm trying to push 135 pounds or 185 pounds, but not caring about my form or not paying attention to my eccentric, if I have that RX today, well then I'm not going to get an efficient workout. So making sure that I'm putting my ego in a check too when it comes to lifting, that's something that can be a little difficult sometimes, because you want to improve on each set or you want to improve on each week. But with hypertrophy training and physique training, that's not how it is. So I have to remind myself that a lot too. That's pretty much how my first week has gone. I know this has been a little long-winded, so if you listen to that, well, thank you for listening to the end. I hope you guys have a great week, and to stay tuned for more info on next week's training to come.